A legend has been reimagined today. It seems that we have a brand new Emperor's Champion coming for the Black Templars. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, where today brings an entire new reimagination of an absolutely classic 40k miniature, and the epitome of the crusading knight in the Emperor's Champion himself. Here's the model, wielding the mighty black sword above his head, some rosary beads clutched in his left hand, and no doubt all ready to give out some smiting to some heretics and Xenos. We already know that Black Templars are on the way for Warhammer 40k, either next or potentially after the Orcs proper release, as of course they only had their battle box. I was wondering which of the characters they would choose to go with updating. For the Black Templars he could have had High Marshal Helbrecht, the Emperor's Champion, or Chaplain Grimaldus. We don't know if they will be doing some of the others, but it seems that this is their first port of call. Looking at the model, I was initially not entirely certain whether or not it was a Primaris model, or more like a scaled up version of the standard Verspawn like we had with Castell and Crow of the Grey Knights. Examining him a little bit closer, he does appear to be Primaris. He's got the same sort of backpack as them, and they did post a side-by-side scale comparison with the old one, and he is looking a bit bigger, chunkier, and on a bigger base. Here is that size comparison and a look at the previous model. He does appear to be on a 40mm base, I think, rather than the old 25 one, and maybe a touch more ornate than the previous, with some nice flowing iconography and bits. I have to say though, of all the models they chose to resculpt, I think the Emperor's Champion might be a slightly dangerous one. I think perhaps out of all their classic models, this guy's just a truly iconic sculpt. Utterly menacing, brandishing that sword across his head, and he really looks like he's got a death stare going on, no doubt eyeing up an enemy commander who is just about to cleave in half. If we look at a few more views of the new one though, the new version has picked up a few more details. He's got a tilt plate which adds a cool splash of colour. He's got the rosary beads and that flowing sort of pennant iconography thing at the back. I'm sure he could leave that off if he didn't want it, and he wanted a bit more of a plain look though. And maybe the sword is looking a tiny bit more ornate with that crossguard. I do think for the most part though that they've managed to capture the sheer menace of the old model. And though he does appear to be Primaris, I think at first glance it is kind of really hard to tell. He's done it in a very different style, and still has a bit more of that very practical crusading knight look, as opposed to the more like futuristic look of the Primaris Marines. On quite a lot of the recent characters they have given us the option of a head swap. I don't know whether they'll do that or not for this guy. I think a bareheaded version would just feel quite wrong compared with the old miniature for me, but I suppose they might do that. I'm certainly going to be interested to see his rules in game. Being Primaris, I wouldn't be surprised to see an extra attack and wound on the miniature, even though the Emperor's Champion at the moment is really quite destructive. For his points cost, not that many characters can mete out the sheer amount of hurt that he can, and if he ever does get locked in a mirror match, he's going to be particularly good at taking out any enemy heroes. I'm quite looking forward to getting stuck into the Black Templar Codex when we do have rules of it, and I'll most certainly be covering any news or rumours of it on the channel if you would like to see more. So anyway, as always, let me know what you think of the new miniature down in the comments below. Does he fit the bill as a new Emperor's Champion, or are there things that you would have done differently for him? If you do want to see any more Black Templar news and reveals, I will certainly cover it on Auspex Tactics, so feel free to subscribe if you'd like to. And if you would like to help keep the channel going, I would just like to mention that I do have a Patreon page down in the comments below. There are a few rewards for joining up, including seeing new videos early and a few other bits and bobs, so feel free to check that out if you'd like. In any case, an absolutely enormous thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.